Hey there, Joseph Spada here, and in this video, I am going to go over the entire workshop as a recap, and we are going to focus on the most important takeaways, and I hope that's
Generate
helpful to you.
leads.
When you
So
get a phone call, make sure that is your number that rings, not at the house where a caregiver might pick up and say, "Oh, the boss is not here. Call later." Well, they're not going to call later because they have a long list of phone numbers and they're going to move on pretty quickly. So it's really important that you answer the phone and that you engage them pretty quickly in getting to know and in vetting them. What's going on? Tell me about your situation. Where's your mom now? Are they in assisted living? Well, what's prompting you to move? What's going on there? Because now you're going to learn about the problem, right? So that's a good question to ask. You're going to learn about the fact that there is not enough care, that they're not safe. Maybe they've been asked to move. Maybe it's too expensive. So, whatever the problem they gave you, come up with a solution to that for them that they're going to love. Try not to sell on price, but it's a good idea to qualify. Tell me real quick, what is going to be the source of payment? You have long term care insurance? Is this out of pocket, private pay? Are you Medicaid? Let them talk, but that's what you're looking for. Try to get them to quote that. Now, if they are asking you for a quote, just say that you could give them a general quote, but the specific quote, you would need more information, more specifics. If they have the time to talk on the phone now, a little bit more, that'd be great. But in general, if I can just give you a range, then really the next best thing to do is for you to stop by so you can see what we have. We can learn more about your needs and your situation. Then at that point, I can give you a more firm quote on what it will cost to be with them. So the point is here, your outcome from the start of the phone call is to get them to come over. Now, again, don't push hard. Just keep in mind that that's what you're looking for. You're looking for them to come for a tour. Okay. Then that's when the magic happens. When they actually physically show up, you want to make sure you have thought through a clear process. Don't wing it. This is the biggest issue when people don't think through. The most important part of this whole process is when the customer is actually at your doorstep, and that's when they're going to decide to buy or not to buy. So, this is arguably the moment that makes you the money, right? But given that importance, most people never think about how to structure their tour, the kind of stuff they should say, not say, the things to talk about, not talk about, the kind of questions to ask versus not ask. They improvise, and that's not great because you can't track what you're doing. You're doing it different every time, and you are not necessarily aware of the particular points that are going to create the greatest impact. So when we say prepare and structure your tour, that understanding is part of it. What is the most important outcome you're looking for there? What kind of experience do you want them to have? How do you address certain items that are important to them? All right, so we're going to be a little more specific on that in just a second, but essentially, you want to engage them logically, of course, because they have to think about the logistical parts. What does it cost? Can you do A, B, and C? What about visits? My mom has this condition. Can you deal with this? Right. So these are the logical part, which is awesome. But don't forget to also involve them emotionally. Now, there's all kinds of things you can do there, but first of all, is the way that the visit is arranged and structured. You are going to elicit emotions already just by doing that. And the rest of it is how you paint a picture when they are here. This is what they're going to experience, not just the we're gonna check them every 30 minutes. That's the logical brain, but the emotional brain is going to say, because we do that, uh, there is always going to be someone who has an eye on them, so their level of safety and attention is going to skyrocket. If they seem serious, offer the option to provide a room hold. Okay, I might be jumping ahead here because that would be like at the very end. Okay, but since it's here on the slide, uh, and a room hold, make it simple. It's not required. There's no obligation, but a lot of people like to do that just because if they're serious and they're interested, they don't want to lose the room. Because as a matter of fact, I have an appointment to show again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So, but again, no pressure. You can always, come back later and drop off a check after you've read all the Q&A, and if you have any other question, or uh, after you're done with the touring process, if you're serious, you might want to do that. So it's one of those situations where you want to be judicious, played by hand, played by ear there, if it seems appropriate. But usually I ask for that. I mean, I offer people the option. I say, this is by no means required, and I certainly don't mean to put any pressure, but I know you've already seen four homes based on what you said. If this appeals to you, you might want to put a room hold. Now, it's totally refundable. If for any reason you're not able to move in, you'll get 100% back. But if you do, and then when you do move in, all of it will be applied to your monthly care fee as well. And a lot of people do, maybe half, I would say, four or five out of 10 will leave me a check before they leave the house. So it's always worth asking for it. And remember the key part here, they must envision their mom or their dad or their loved one being happy right there in your house, right there in their room. If they don't envision mom or dad being happy, uh, it's going to be a tough thing because they're going to say, well, it kind of sounds good, but gosh, I'm not sure how my mom is going to take it. If you have something like that, offer a risk reversal type of thing. In other words, listen, I know it's a bit nerve wracking to make such a big decision. I want you to know you're not going to be locked in. I mean, as a general rule, you don't have to sign a long term care contract here. When you move in, you can give me 30 days notice and you can be out. But in this case, since it's brand new, if you're not satisfied within the first 30 days, I will actually pay for your care. You can just go and it's going to be free of charge, except for those things that we've had to pay for, as an example, the assessment or the nurse delegation and maybe your briefs. But other than that, I'll go ahead and pay. I have said that so many times, and this is a complete 100% full risk reversal. I mean, in their mind, they're going to go, oh, well, what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose. Nothing. I mean, I'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. If I move out, they're going to pay for all the care and it's free on me. Wow. That means you take all the risk and they take zero risk. That's the kind of power that can be in a risk reversal type of an offer, is that they have absolutely nothing to lose. And chances are, if you do a great job, they're going to be totally happy. And the odds of them deciding, well, we're not thrilled and we don't like it and we're going to leave, it's actually really low. Once they're in and they go home and they sleep soundly at night because they know you're watching over their loved one, and they get a good report and mom is happy and you are communicating with them, telling them how well things are going and all the things you're doing for mom and dad or whatever, they're just going to be so thrilled and so relieved. If you do a good job, the odds of them moving out are almost none. And yeah, trust me, I mean, I've done this so many times. I had a family, they were lawyers. They were like four siblings, and all of them were lawyers. They had this big law firm in downtown Seattle, and mom was over in Yakima. They paid to fly me over there because they were sitting on the fence for like 4 months, but I kept on following up with them. So finally, I said, let me go see her. I'll spend a day. So they flew, they paid for my airplane ticket. It was like $200 to get me over there. I spent all day in the assisted living. I gave them the report when I came back. They said, all right, we'll do it. And I gave them a full no risk um, type of guarantee, a full risk reversal. I will pay for everything. You pay for nothing. Literally like that. They said, okay. She was with me 2.5 years. So I know it works. Positioning and differentiation, number six. All right, stop being a commodity. If you list all the things you have and all the things you do, such as the way everybody else does, you're going to be a commodity. You don't really stand out. Your positioning is like a generalist, like everyone else, and it's a lot harder to compete. So, that's why we say here room and care is not a strategy. They can get that anywhere and maybe even cheaper. So, therefore, specializing is really important. And specializing doesn't mean you don't take care of anybody else. It just means that this one area, that is your strong point, that is your specialty. Somebody has a stroke, somebody has cancer, somebody has dementia. This is what we do day in and day out. Day in, excuse me, this is what we do day in and day out. As a matter of fact, we have taken care of dozens of people like your mom, so we really understand the toll that this illness takes on the client and on the family members. And we have really learned how to handle this so that the client thrives and does as well as they can despite their condition, and to give you the peace of mind that you deserve so you can go back to being your mom's son or daughter again, and enjoy some pleasurable visit time with them while we do all the hard work and all the heavy lifting, and you'll always be kept informed. So that kind of messaging, I gave you right here an example of the features, the benefits of it, and the outcome may sound something like that when you speak about those in a natural way. Okay, your packages, your valuable care programs, all of these things differentiate you. Your story, your reason why you do this, uh, will set you apart. Your specialty, all of these things will set you apart. Of course, a beautiful home, a beautiful decor, and a number of other things can help differentiate you as well. Some of the other positioning and differentiation is that I like to, for example, do a all-inclusive price quote for people, because basically 10 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10, if we want to be generous, will say, well, the fee covers the care, but then you have to pay for nurse delegation, you have to pay for incontinence supplies, you have to pay for all these other things. Well, I include all of that because now they've seen 4 other houses before mine, or maybe 3, let's say, but some people up to 6. In fact, my latest admission, they had seen 6 adult family homes. So anyway, now here they are in front of me. Oh, what about, it's their additional costs? I say, well, typically, yes, the briefs, the incontinence supply, but in our case, we do all inclusive. So that is all included. No matter how many diapers your mom needs, they're all part of the care fee. We buy, I don't say we account those for the price that we're quoting you. I basically say we buy those in bulk from large quantities suppliers, and we buy a lot of them, and so therefore we get really good pricing on them. So the you know that the, it barely affects your cost, but essentially we pass on the savings to you, and it makes the billing and the payments really easy because you just write one check every month and everything is included there, and they go like, wow, that is nice. You know what I mean? Love it. Nobody else does that. So here they just pay one check and everything's included. They don't have to worry about any of it. Okay, and when we talk about the details, I just say those type of things. Yeah, for example, the nurse delegator, we get a great price from her too because we give her a lot of business. So we just go ahead and pay her right away, which is how we get great pricing. And then, that will be included on your bill. So even if she has to come twice, it doesn't affect how much you're paying. It's all the same and it's all included in the fee. Those type of ideas, okay? And remember, talk to both the shell needs and the core needs, which we've talked about. The shell needs are all the things, the features, the what And these provide information for the rational brain for them to think about. But if that's all you're giving them, they're going to say, okay, well, thank you. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. Well, that's not the best outcome. But if you talk to core needs also, you are engaging them emotionally and you're pushing the buttons such as urgency, such as opportunity, such as great value because everything's included. Right now it's available, but tomorrow, no, because we have another tour. So yeah, there's no guarantee that this will be available to you tomorrow, right? So now you're touching them emotionally, you're engaging them emotionally, and that's where the decisions are made. Okay. An example shift of the benefits versus features is you saying we take regular vitals. Everybody else does, but if you start, we say, we have a comprehensive health maintenance uh, program. Now you're like, you sound a lot more professional, a lot more polished, a lot more thoughtful in how you design the care in your adult family home. That instantly makes you more attractive. That's why when you go to the store, everything is packaged in beautiful packaging. It doesn't just come in a Ziploc bag. That there's no packaging there. It just devalues a product. When it's nicely packaged, it increases the perceived value of that product. Now, in our case, the product is the care. So we're not going to wrap things up in a cardboard box and make it look nice, but it's going to be in the presentation of the product. That's where our packaging is. Our packaging is the presentation of this care product we offer, not just, we do vital signs, we have 3 meals a day, it's freshly made every day. Fine. Well, everybody else can say the same thing. That's not a differentiation. Right. Leave them with something to take home. Remember, when people go home empty handed, they might forget, and they might forget pretty quickly also because, again, they are not just going to see you, they're going to see other facility. Some people are even considering assisted living as an option. So when they go from one place to the next, it's hard for them to remember the details of what was said. And um, you know how that goes. We mostly forget what we hear. In 24 to 48 hours, we forget as much as 80% of what we hear. So that's why sending them home with something for them to read, review, to remember you by, make sure your pictures on things so that they are familiarizing again. And they're going to spend a lot more time reading and learning about you than they are going to spend thinking about another provider because they have something tangible. Q&A, nice flyers about your services, nice flyers about your beautiful care programs that really answer and address their concerns, their pain points, their problems, and the challenges that they are facing. When they take time at home to review all this information, you are going to be the one who's on their mind. That's what you want to do. Okay. You can include your bio, information about your staff. You can include your story, more about Joseph. You know, Joseph was raised in Switzerland and started to work at the University Hospital at the tender age of 18. When he came to the United States and worked in a nursing home, that broke his heart, and on and on. Make it short, but they get to know you more. Remember, people will tend to work with people that they know, that they like, and that they trust. So, including that information in some packaged fashion that they can take home is really, really powerful in your marketing. Okay? And you can include anything else that you think is helpful. But I pretty much kind of went over the most important parts here. All right, your personal story, we already mentioned a few times where you want to have that. Here, let's just dig a touch deeper. You want to have a short version of your personal story. Try to make it 30 seconds or less if at all possible. And then make another one that's longer. So when you do have time and things aren't rushed and you want to go through the full story, you can go ahead, but you can also just summarize the main points and get that story across to your prospective person or whoever it is you talk to in just 15, 20, 30 seconds. Okay, now 15 is pretty short, but 30, you can do something with 30, 45 seconds. That's enough to give a short version of your personal story. And again, the structure of your personal story is what's going to make it powerful and appealing and to deepen the rapport and the connection that people can make with you. Number one, the pain or the problems that you witnessed at some point in your life, in your career, taking care of your own parents or grandparents, taking care of your spouse's parents or something like that, working in a nursing home, working in assisted living, working another adult family home where there was a bunch of things you didn't like the way they did that. In fact, there is a former student of mine who has a very successful adult family home in Bellevue also. That was his story because he was brought up in adult family home. His parents had two adult family homes, then his elderly sister had one. So he pretty much grew up in there. And he said, I just loved the whole uh, environment of being around the elderly people and what we did over there, but there was a few things that my parents did that were really old fashioned and I didn't like that. I just didn't think it was helpful or whatever, and he can explain what these things are. And so when I decided to build my own, I made sure to update all these things that I didn't think were very effective, um, and didn't contribute to the quality and the safety of life here, and I fixed all those problems. But that's a beautiful story, isn't it? Yeah. What you learned in this example that I just gave you, and then what you built instead, your solution to that problem. Okay, that really builds authentic connection, more trust. Uh, and again, people are going to repeat that story about you a lot more than they're going to repeat your features. Remember, stories are very powerful. And since ancient time to modern day, storytelling is still a way of communicating that is very compelling and very powerful. Website and visibility. So let's go a step further there. Make sure that you aim to be on the first page of Google. So obviously, your Google business listing is really critical. Um, you really need to be showing up on the first place. So, Google business listing, do whatever it takes. If you have to hire somebody and pay them, do it. That is going to be worth every penny you invest, every minute of your time you invest, if you can show up on the first page of Google. Okay, there is a number of ways to help Google show your listing, your name, your adult family home on the first page. But again, a primary one is a Google business listing. The second one is your own website, especially then if you make a video or two, upload those on YouTube, display them on your website via an embed link. Remember, Google, YouTube, it's the same. Very important. If you're up for that, having a blog with helpful information is really, really helpful because Google does show blogs if they believe that the blogs are relevant and helpful. So they have to match what you do. So, adult family home care, any blog or article that helps the consumer learn or benefit from your information, Google is going to love that, is going to prioritize that, and that is a great way to get what's called organic ranking. All right. Now, be very careful with AI. I would say go ahead and use AI for an outline, but you need to go there and slash all it out and say, just write it in your own words in perfect English. Okay. Not perfect English, imperfect English. Google really does not like AI. And now, of course, there is so much AI competition. It may recognize AI written by Gemini, which is Google, but and maybe it's more lenient with that, but it's probably not going to like AI written articles that are totally automated, and you can see that a human being hasn't even read what it said there. Those are penalized. Okay, that's why there are so many, AI detection software where you can just upload your article and it'll tell you this is 98% AI. You know, Google is not going to promote that content. So you need to make sure that it sounds like a human being wrote it, like you wrote it, because now you can infuse your what you've learned over the years doing what you do. You can provide grounded advice which is realistic in the real world, that is really helpful to people. All right. Use real photos if you can. One of the students at the workshop had a wonderful website, and more than one actually. And this, it's all real people in the adult family home, real decor. Now, there were very nice pictures in terms of the quality of the image was a good quality image. In other words, not dark, not blurry, a nice picture, but everyone looks happy, everyone looks clean. This is what families want for their loved one. So if they see the real deal, that's going to be very compelling because they're going to see their mom, their dad, their loved one in that picture, having a good time, being happy, being around a caregiver who smiles and hugs them and is nice to them. They're going to see their loved one in that place. And that is really, really compelling. You should try to avoid the generic um, pictures you can download for free on Google, or even if you have to pay for that generic content, it's not as powerful as the real picture. People want to know what they're going to get. What you get, what you see is what you get. Really, really important, especially in what we do, because it's all about trust. Number what, 5 or 6 here. Your about page needs to be really personal. Put a picture of yourself and make it speak from the I perspective. This is really, really important because remember, I mean, this. This is a very personal business. Somebody is going to entrust you with the life of their loved one. So, those about us pages who are just really general, very vague, or, here at ABCAFH, we care about compassion and love, and we want to make sure that we provide care, and our aim is to. Uh, this is not compelling. My name is Joseph. I worked in a nursing home and it broke my heart. That's why I built this adult family home, so that I can give your loved one the same love, care, attention, and support that I would give my own mother. I built a house that I would bring my mom here any minute. Um, that's why I'm here to help you. Plus, besides that, I have cared for many, many people with these types of condition, and I'm always just a phone call away. When you pick up the phone, you dial my number. I'm the one who answers the phone, and I can talk with you, answer your questions. This is what I do all day, every day, and I love doing it, and I love to help people just like you. When you write something, as an example, completely off the cuff here, but that type of idea is a lot more compelling. I had a student who said, well, I don't want to put my picture there because I'm black. And so then if they see that I'm black, then maybe they're going to be, turned off by that. They won't come. And it's like, no, that is the complete opposite. People want to know who they're dealing with. And also, when they see your face on your website, they're going to know exactly what you look like. When they come, they're going to feel like they already know exactly who you are. And they already read, something you wrote, something about you, or something about what you do, something about what you love, something that matters to you. So that is going to deepen the sense of connection and trust. Not then they show up at your door and they were expecting to see somebody that looks entirely different. That's not helpful. All right. So don't be shy. Just take a nice professional shot, or maybe a picture with a resident, or I don't know, something that's kind of warm, compelling. Even if it's just you, that's great. A professional headshot. Wonderful. Make sure the website is mobile responsive so people look at it on phone and tablet. It looks great. And then remember, if you go so far as having an education based marketing type of approach, you can create a very helpful Q&A, a very helpful report about adult family homes or anything that seems relevant to your clients. In the example I gave you, something that worked really well for me was a touring checklist. The 20 question you must ask that most people never think of, but because I'm an insider, I know what I would look for if I was needing a place for my own mom, and that's what you're going to get here. That's really powerful. I would get somewhere between 50 and 80 new leads every quarter, so that's like 20 a month maybe. Well, 20 a month is great, and probably out of 20, how many are going to actually move in? Probably zero. But out of 100, I'll get 2 calls. Okay, out of 200, I'll probably get 5 calls and possibly 1 move in. Okay, the numbers make a difference. But if this is automated on your website, you really don't have to lift a finger. You just put everything on autopilot. You use an autoresponder that delivers the goodies and sends continued messages. Then you can add them to your newsletter and send that once a month. And remember, if people don't want to be on it, they'll just unsubscribe. No big deal. But those who stay, it's because they're interested. So send them a little something once a month, something helpful. New research on Alzheimer's. And then at the bottom, and by the way, we have an opening. But as you know, our openings fill pretty quickly. So if you know someone who needs help, help them. Give them our number. I'll talk to them, no charge, and I will help them. If I can help them, then I will. But no matter what, you can be sure that I'm going to treat your referral with the utmost care and respect because they came from you. And I promise you, I'll take really good care of them. That type of messaging is real personal. That's exactly how you would talk to someone in front of you. And that is quite attractive and quite compelling.